is Janie, and today we're making this bow top. This pattern will be completely made to measure, meaning each step is adjustable and based off of your own body measurements, but I will include the number of stitches and rows I did just as reference. I'll also leave the written guide down below if you'd like to pull that up. And without further ado, let's get into the overview. The first thing we're going to do is make a rectangular panel that'll cover the front of our chest, and then we're going to extend on the sides, and then we're going to extend downwards to the part that will cover our midriff. Then we'll do the straps, and then we'll add on the bow, which you can either make now or later. Here are the materials you'll need, and let's get started. So you're gonna chain from like the side of your bust to the other side of your bust. And for me, that is going to be, so I chained 40, and all we're going to do now is half double crochet all the way up. We're going to make a big panel, and I'm going to switch my view right now so you can see what I'm doing. After you're done creating your foundation chain, we're going to add one chain to act as our turning chain to start our half double crochet row. And then we're going to start our half double crochets. So all you do is yarn over, stick your hook into the second chain from your hook, and then yarn over, pull the yarn through all 3 loops. So once again, you yarn over and then stick your hook into the next chain, then pull some yarn through, and then pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And you're going to keep doing half double crochets all the way down this row until you have 1 half double crochet in each chain. So for me, since I chained 40, I'm going to have 40 half double crochets by the end of my row 1. Here's just a little bit more footage of me doing this for the first row, but you can pause the video here so you can finish that up. So now that we have our first row of half double crochets, we're going to keep doing this for the rest of the panel. So let's move on to row number 2. I'll show you how to start that. The first thing you're going to do is turn your work, and then you're going to chain 1. This will be your turning chain. And then the next thing you're going to do is yarn over and do your half double crochet into the first stitch. And then you're going to continue doing half double crochets, placing 1 half double crochet into each stitch from the last row. This should be a consistent number, so since I did 40, each row is going to have 40 half double crochets from here on out. And at this point, I think you're kind of getting the idea of how this is gonna go. It's very simple, just a half double crochet rectangle. I'll play some footage of me completing this, and I'll meet you when we get to the next row. So I'm getting pretty close to the end of this row. I'm on my last half double crochet, and remember, once you finish a row, you should always chain 1 and turn your work. And if you notice at this point that it seems like your top is shrinking a little bit, it's okay because we're going to make adjustments to the sides later on. Just make sure that at a minimum, this length is going to stretch from like where 2 spaghetti straps would land. And from here on out, I think I'm just going to time lapse so I can just zone out and crochet, and you can too, because it is just a repetitive process of doing the same thing for each row. Before I go, you'll know when to stop when you hold up this panel to your chest and line up the bottom with the base of your chest and just see where the top is landing, because that is where your neckline will be. So if it's landing a little bit short, then keep adding on rows until it reaches the desired amount of coverage. I think in total I did about 15 rows if you'd like to use that as reference. Alright, I ended up doing 15 rows, and you can tell where I made like a few mistakes, but mistakes are okay because we can always find ways to fix them. I'm gonna go in and add some side pieces that just like form a triangle. And that brings us to part 2, the sides. What I'm going to do is take a stitch marker and mark where I think the middle is or where I want it to start sloping. This doesn't have to be perfect, just make sure that you're matching what you do on one side with the other side. Once you have that, you're going to take some yarn, attach it onto this little corner right here. So just yarn over and then make a little slip knot. Then you're going to reinsert your hook, and we're going to double crochet. So start by making a turning chain, so chain 2. Then we're going to start doing double crochets while weaving in this loose end. So just lay that loose end above your work, and we're going to crochet around it. So yarn over, stick your hook into the half double crochet row from the front panel while the loose end is laying on top, and then grab some yarn and then pull through 2 and then pull through another 2. And you just keep doing that all the way down. So I'm going to stick my hook into the same half double crochet row and do another double crochet. And then we're going to double crochet into the next half double crochet row. We're kind of just trying to double crochet across to our stitch marker. Just make sure you keep track of how many you're doing so we can match it on the other side. Keep double crocheting across, and once you're one away from the stitch marker, I will show you how to decrease. So now I'm one away from the stitch marker. You can see I have 2 stitches left. And what we're going to do to decrease is yarn over, stick your hook into the next stitch, and pick up some yarn and pull it through. And then you're going to go immediately into the next stitch, which is the one with the stitch marker. Pull some more yarn through, then yarn over and pull through 3 of the loops on your hook until you have 2 loops left. Then yarn over and finish off that decrease. And now you can see it's starting to slope a little bit. For the next row, we're going to start off with a decrease. So chain 2, flip your work, yarn over, and then stick your hook into the stitch that's next to where you chained. And then immediately stick your hook into the next stitch. So you have a bunch of loops. Pull it through everything until you have 2 loops on your hook, and then finish off that decrease. Now you have even more of a little triangle forming. And for the rest of this, just double crochet down the row. So for me, I have 7 double crochets to do. Basically, just do 1 double crochet in each stitch until you reach the end of the row. So just to recap, now we have a decrease and then followed by double crochets all the way down the row. To start the next row, we're going to chain 2. And that chain counts as a double crochet, so we're not going to insert our hook here. We're going to go insert our hook into the next stitch. So double crochet into this next stitch. And then you're just going to double crochet all the way down until you have 2 stitches left, so we can use those 2 stitches to do a decrease. So for me, if you include that turning chain as a double crochet, I did a total of 6 double crochets before I started the decrease. I'm on my 6th double crochet right now, and now I have 2 stitches left. So we're going to do the decrease, and I'm going to do it with you. So remember, to decrease, you're going to yarn over, stick your hook in, grab some yarn, and then immediately stick your hook into the next stitch, grab some more yarn, pull the yarn through most of those loops until you have 2 loops left, and then pull some more yarn through those 2 last loops. I'm going to stop here, but you can continue doing rows if you want this top to be less backless, because right now I just have the top covering the front and then doing like a crisscross in the back, but you can continue doing rows either with or without the decreases. Just make sure you do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm just going to tie off, so slip knot and then get some scissors, get the string, pull it through, and we're going to move on to the other side. Remember, you start by inserting your hook into the corner and then put some yarn on by pulling it through and making a slip stitch. Then we're going to insert our hook into that corner again, pull some yarn through, and then chain 2 to start our double crochets. After you chain 2, remember we're going to weave in the ends here, so yarn over and do a double crochet and kind of double crochet around those 2 ends. So insert your hook into one of the rows from the panel and leave those loose ends laying on top. Pull some yarn through and then double crochet like you normally would. Then you're going to do that again. You yarn over, stick your hook in, and double crochet. Then keep going until you have the same number of double crochets that you had on the other side. So for me, that's 9 double crochets, and then we're going to do a decrease with those last 2 stitches. As I'm approaching that, I'm actually going to go grab the stitch marker and move it over so we can see where we are. I don't know why I didn't do that earlier, but do it now. Now let's go ahead and do that decrease. Start by yarning over, stick your hook into the next stitch, and then immediately stick our hook into the next one, pull through all this yarn until we have 2 loops left, and then yarn over and pull through those last 2 loops, and then you're done with your decrease, and we're going to move on to the next row. Remember, for row 2, you're going to start by chaining 2, turn your work, and then we're going to start with a decrease. So yarn over, stick your hook into this next stitch right here, grab some yarn, pull it through, and then immediately stick your hook into the next stitch, and pull through all those little loopies until you have 2 left, and then yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. Then you're just going to double crochet all the way down the row. So if you're doing exactly what I did, you're going to double crochet 7 times. On to row 3. So remember, for row 3, you start off by chaining 2, flip your work, and then you double crochet until you have 2 stitches left. So if you're following along with me, that's 6 double crochets, including the turning chain. And just remember, you leave 2 stitches so you can do the decrease at the end. With these last 2 stitches, decrease by yarning over, sticking your hook in, and then sticking your hook into the next stitch, pulling your yarn through, and then pulling your yarn through once again. And if you have more rows to do, pause here so you can finish that. But if not, cut off your yarn. Let's move on to part 3. There are different stitches you can do for this part. Here's just a few examples, but for this video, I'm going to show you how to do this extended single crochet. I don't know if there's an actual name for this, but it looks very cool in my opinion. First, we're going to turn our panel upside down and attach yarn to the corner by doing a little slip stitch, tying it on. And I'm going to start by pulling this through, and I'm just going to do a foundation of single crochets. Since it's like going horizontal and we're adding single crochets vertically, I'm just inserting my hook into the double crochet row and doing a single crochet. This doesn't have to be super exact because we're just setting a foundation. Basically, just try to single crochet across even though there aren't definite stitches for you to single crochet in, since we are working perpendicular to the rows of this side area. Once we get to the front panel again, it's a lot less confusing because now we're just going to crochet straight across, like single crochet 1 into each of these like chains that we did for the front panel, and work your way all the way across until you reach the other side piece that you added on. Now I've reached the other end of this panel part, so I'm going to single crochet across like we did in the beginning. Wherever you can, just kind of stick your hook in and continue until you get to this other corner. Kind of just single crochet where you can, and then single crochet into the double crochet and just do one final one. Turn your work around. Now we're going to start doing these extended single crochets, which is kind of like a Solomon's knot if you've done one of those stitches before. But basically, we're going to extend our single crochet about an inch, I would say. Once you decide on the length, you're going to pinch the base of it with your thumb, yarn over, and pull some yarn through the loop. And then once you have that, you're going to separate these 3 strands and put your hook in between that. Grab some yarn, pull it through, and now you have 2 loops on your hook. And you're going to yarn over and pull some yarn through like how you would do a regular single crochet. And that's how you're going to start every row. Between each one of these stitches, we're going to chain 1 and skip 1. So here I am just chaining 1, and then you're going to skip 1 single crochet down here and go into the next stitch. So insert your hook into the next stitch, grab some yarn, pull it through, and then extend to about the same length that you did in the first one. Then you're going to grab some yarn, pull it through both of those 2 loops, and then in a second I'm going to skip to footage that's a little bit further down in the row because I feel like I explained it better, so don't be alarmed by the skip. So picking up where we just left off, we drew out the yarn so it matched the height, right? And then you yarned over, pulled the yarn through, and now you should see 4 strands. We're going to stick our hook between the first and the fourth, and then pull the yarn through and yarn over and finish that single crochet. Then you're going to follow it by a chain 1, and we're going to continue that process. So you chain 1, skip 1, stick your hook into this single crochet here, and then extend. Then you're going to yarn over, pull that yarn through, and then you're going to stick your hook to grab these furthest strands, so the first and the fourth strand. So you see how there are 4? We're going to grab those farthest ones. So just stick your hook to grab those, and then yarn over, pull through, and then finish that single crochet. And then chain 1, and we're just going to continue that process of chaining 1, skipping 1, and doing the extended single crochet all the way down the row. Pause here, and once you get close to the end of the row, we can reconvene. If your last extended single crochet ends at this last stitch right here, then ignore this part. But if you run into this problem like me where it isn't landing on the last single crochet, then here's what you're gonna do. Do the last extended single crochet that you can. So that's what I'm doing right now. And then afterwards, once you chain 1, since you technically can't skip 1 and then do an extended single crochet, we're just going to do an extended single crochet into this last stitch or into this corner just to make up for that. Now you're done with your first row. Yay! It's a very cool stitch. I like how it looks a lot. We're going to continue doing that for a few rows. I'm going to show you how to start a new row because now you obviously don't have single crochets anymore. You have these weird little pillars. So to start one, we're going to pull this to whatever length we want. I'm going to do this one a little bit longer, and then grab the yarn, bring it through here while you're pinching the bottom so nothing's moving around. Then you're going to split these 3 strands, insert your hook, and grab the yarn and pull it through so you have 2 loops left, and then you're going to finish that single crochet. So now I have this, then I'm going to chain 1 and crochet into where we did these single crochets on the last row. So all we have to do is chain 1 and then crochet into these guys. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to stick my hook into here, pull some yarn through, and then pull it to the length of the starting one. Bring the yarn through all of that. Now we have 4 strings attached to this single crochet. I'm going to go under the first and under the last one, pull this through, and then yarn over, bring this yarn through those 2 loops, and then chain 1, and then continue this into the next stitch. So put my hook in, pull it to the length I'd like, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, and then find these 4 strings and go under the first one, under the last one, and then I have 2 loops on my hook and pull through, and then chain 1. We're going to keep doing that. Yeah! As you're completing your second row, I feel like now's a good time for a little posture and hydration check, because if you're anything like me, I'll start working on a project and my back will start hurting and I'll get super dehydrated, but I won't do anything about it because I want to finish the project, which is so bad. So if you're anything like that too, take a break, get some water, stretch, and I promise your body will thank you for it. Okay. I just finished the second row. It looks like this, and we are going to continue making rows of this stitch until you get to whatever length you'd like for your top. So I'm going to go until my waistline, but you can go beyond your waistline if you'd like. Since you've already done 2 rows, I'm assuming you're an expert at this now, but just to remind you how to start it, you're going to extend your yarn to the length you'd like, pull some yarn through, separate these 3 strands, stick your hook in, grab the yarn, and then finish your single crochet. And then you just continue the extended single crochets like you've been doing all the way down the row. Just remember to chain 1 between each extended single crochet. I did about 5 rows total. Now you should have something that looks like this. To whatever length that you went to. I ended up doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. We're going to do the straps now. Yeah. I forgot to hit record when I did the strap on the other side, so I'm going to show you how to do it on this side. So you're going to insert your hook, grab some yarn, pull it through, and then yarn over and pull that yarn through that small loop you just made, basically doing a slip knot to tie it on. Then if you have any other loose ends nearby, you can also tie those two together just to reinforce it a bit more. But after that, you're just going to chain 250. The amount of chains you'll need completely depends on how many crisscrosses you're doing, because the more crisscrosses you have, the longer the strap needs to be. So just keep that in mind. I would maybe go to like 200 and then kind of lay out your crisscross to see if that's meeting the length that you'd like, just to estimate. And remember to leave a long strand at the end just in case you need to make any adjustments. Now that we have two really long straps, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start weaving them. So I'm going to bring this strap over to this corner right here. I'm going to stick my hook into that corner and pull this strap through like so. Right, so now we have one strap crossed, and do the same with this side. Do the same with this side. So we're going to bring this one over to this corner. So stick your hook in here and grab this and pull it right through. Okay, and at this point, you're going to try this on. So your hands go through here, and then your head goes through this cross. So I want my straps to sit around here. I'm going to tug one side to tighten it, pinch this area, and try to tie a knot. This is so when we're like putting this on, it doesn't move around, because this is what we want to be the most secure. Same thing with the other side. Pull on this until the straps feel like they're the same tension on your shoulders. Then tie it in place just like you did on the other side. Once you have that, you're going to take this off. Now we're going to do the rest of the crisscross back. So just take one strand and put it through the base of that side piece that we added on. So right here, and just weave it through. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other strap. So grab the other strap and put it in the same area on the other side. Then you can start weaving the rest however you'd like and however many times you'd like. I think I do it every 2 rows. Try to make it so you weave to your waistline so that the waist can be the part that cinches in the most, if that makes sense. The next thing we're going to do is put on the bow. I also made a top kind of similar to this with a star in the middle, if you'd like to do that too, but these are just embellishments. I'm going to show you how to make the bow, and you can just put it right there, add a little detail, and you'll have a really cute top. Or you could just wear it like this. This is cute too. Now that you have the top done with the straps, the next thing we're going to do is add on this little top stitch detail, and I'm just using the same color that I used for the bow, so I'll be using pink. And to do this, you're just going to insert your hook into this corner right here, grab some yarn, pull it through, and then we're just going to tie it on. So I'm just tying a little knot to secure it. And if you want it extra secure, I would double knot it. And I'm going to try to focus my top stitches in this row. So not the row right at the top right here, but this row under it. This way there's going to be a little white peeking up at the top. So insert your hook into this row. I believe it's the second row down. And then you're just going to yarn over and pull some yarn through and have it on your hook like that. And then immediately go into the next stitch of that row, grab more yarn, and do a little slip stitch. And you're going to keep doing these slip stitches, pulling the yarn through and then pulling it through that one loop all the way across this panel, just following along with that row of half double crochets. And I'll meet you at the other side. Once you're at the other side, we're just going to tie off. So go ahead and do your last slip stitch. Pull the yarn through that one loop. And then what you're going to do is just pull that yarn out, bring some of the loose yarn through and cut it, and then pull to tighten. Then go ahead and move the loose ends to the inside of your top. So right now they're sitting on the outside. You're just going to stick your hook in close to where those ends are. Grab them and then move them to the inside. Now it's time to add on the bow. First, you're going to find the bad side of your bow. So this is the nice side. It's very flat and clean. And the other side is less flat, less clean. On that side, you're going to try to stick your hook or your yarn needle through the entire bow. Grab some yarn and then just attach it onto this bow. Then just snip off the end. Then you're going to find the middle of your top, stick your hook into that area, and then flip it over. Then you're just going to take that loose yarn that you attached to your bow and weave it through that middle area, like so. Pull the bow closer, and you can either tie a knot or you can tie a little bow if you want this to be removable. I tied a bow so I could switch up the colors if I ever wanted to. And then you're done! Thank you for watching if you made it this far. This was definitely one of the longer videos for me to edit, so I'm glad I could finally share it. Tag me or send me a DM because I love seeing what you guys make. They always turn out like 10 times better than mine, which is super cool to see from someone I haven't met before. But yeah, like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and have a happy new year. Bye!